Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for some more exceptionally bright people? We're talking language you don't understand. Cynthia Figge, Mark... Figge, beg your pardon. My apologies. Mark Gaalswyk, Chris Drumgoole, and Greg Ness. Greg, let's start with you. What are you doing? What's up?
Well, now that Mark's blown my cover in my public sector role, I'm in the data center industry, which has been very lethargic over the last 10 years, kind of like the U.S. auto industry in the 50s and 60s, where there wasn't a lot of innovation. People didn't care whether cars lasted or not, or whether they were energy efficient or not. We've seen the same phenomena happen in the enterprise data center space. And literally maybe 10 or 12 companies are the most innovative, and the rest of the enterprises are, for the most part, in facilities that are 7 years old or greater. And what does that mean? It means that of the electricity that's intended to go into the racks and stacks of your IT infrastructure, the heartbeat of this new economy, half the energy is wasted in the building, the power, the cooling, on the way to the stacks. So if you can be like Google and Yahoo and Facebook and others and architect advanced, more energy efficient data centers, you can reduce your operating expenses of an IT group by sometimes millions of dollars a year, depending on the size of your data center. So the CEO who founded Vantage Data Centers just happened to co-found 2 other public companies that were building and leasing data center space. Got disenchanted at his last gig because there wasn't enough innovation. He felt like there was a lot of room for waste. Took a business plan to Silver Lake Partners, one of the largest private equity tech firms in the U.S., tech private equity, and became part of a $9 billion round. So we've invested $300 million in Santa Clara, all LEED Platinum candidate buildings. And we're going to expand throughout the U.S. and throughout the world over time. So what we do is the same thing that some companies do with the solar panels on the roof of the house. We finance the data center so that the business can move in without the upfront cost, the risk, the delay, and tracking all of the innovations in the market. So that's basically in a nutshell.
Who are you working with?
Well, so our customers at this point and our data centers will probably, by the end of this year, by the end of construction, be fully leased. Right at this point, they view the power advantages that they get as being strategic. They do not want to tip off their competitors that they've reduced their IT expenses significantly. So none of them are public, but there are several. We have buildings occupied with IT, that type of thing. So, but it's typically Global 2000.
And FiReStarters is all about making a contribution. In what way would you sum up that contribution as being made?
There are thousands of data centers in the world. Most of them are so old that, again, at least half the energy being sent into the IT racks that's supposed to deliver the applications and the software is wasted along the way in faulty or out-of-date electrical, mechanical infrastructure, in methods of cooling, etc. So if we can not only build more efficient data centers, we'll force the market, we'll force the other large public companies we compete with to be more innovative as well, in the same way that the Japanese have forced the Americans to make better automobiles. So we want to start that revolution. We want to be the disruptor. We're well capitalized and we have the expertise to do that. So if we do that, that could reduce, data centers represent about half of the IT expense in the U.S., and that represents about 2% of the electrical power. So let's just say if we could reduce that by 30%, it would be a significant contribution. It would be the equivalent of a whole heck of a lot of wind farms.
Thank you very much. Chris.
My name is Chris Drumgoole, and I am here with Terremark Worldwide, who has the distinctive pleasure of having just got purchased by Verizon. So now I guess I'm here officially with Verizon. But we'll talk about Terremark. So Terremark is in the cloud computing business, which if you've even been at this conference for 2 days or read any sort of newspaper, article, website, or anything in the last world, you realize that anything that is technology is called cloud these days. But what we actually do is provide infrastructure as a service, which is essentially massively efficient compute capacity that's available to everyone from a developer sitting in his bedroom in Brazil to the largest of the Fortune 1000 companies. We give them the ability to turn up infrastructure completely on demand, turn it down completely on demand, essentially bring utility-like compute services, so the idea of plugging into the wall and getting exactly as much power as you need for only the time you need it, to the computing world. So we do this out of 16 centers around the world. We've been doing it for about 4 years now, which in the world of cloud makes us a grandfather. When we actually launched it, we didn't even call it cloud until our marketing guys kind of caught on with the rest of the world's hype. We had a different name for it. So that's the kind of quick, non-technical version of what we do.
And should we be worried about cloud security?
There are a lot of people in the world who should tell you should be worried about cloud security. And I am here to tell you that actually you should pay attention to it and know what you're getting into with it, but you don't need to worry about it. There's a very common misconception in the market that because cloud is new and because it's multi-tenant, so many people use the same cloud, that it's inherently not secure. There are a lot of people in the hardware business and software business who have a vested interest in convincing you that it is not secure. If you actually sit down and do your homework and do the due diligence, it's absolutely as secure as any other infrastructure platform. We would certainly make an argument that because of the visibility you can now get into new layers of your infrastructure, it's inherently even more secure. We believe that the proof is in the pudding, if you will, in the fact that actually one of our largest cloud customers in the world is the U.S. federal government. So these are not folks who are known for just willy-nilly going to a platform that is not secure. They do their homework. They know what they're getting into, and we run several government agencies that we can talk about, several others that we can't, who are full on some of our largest cloud customers. So I think that says a lot.
Quick question about cybersecurity, because there has been discussion of that here. Any solution to it?
No, there's absolutely no magic bullet to solve cybersecurity. The only proper solution is to architect and do your homework and make sure you have both the alarm system and the guards watching the alarm system, and that the building is designed to take the analogy to its death, and that the building is designed to keep intruders out. So the frank nature of the business is that there will always be people who are trying to break in, and there will always be people who are trying to stop them. And we like to think that we do a better job of stopping them than they do of breaking in. And we at Terremark use an expression that says enterprise clouds are built from the ground up. And what that means is that when you go and build a cloud, you can't, as we call it in marketing terminology, you can't cloud wash something. You need to actually take what you're building and actually build it for a multi-tenant cloud purpose. And if you do that, and you do that with security in mind, then you are absolutely equally, if not more secure than you are in a traditional environment. But there is absolutely no magic bullet. And if a cloud vendor ever comes in and tries to sell you something or get you to invest in their company telling you there's the expression "it's too good to be true" probably applies.
And that question again about the fact that people here, as FiReStarters, you're people who are sort of making a contribution to the world. How will this? How would you define that in your case?
I would define it very unglamorous compared to most of the folks that we're sitting here with, because we are really what we do is we bring efficiency and access. So how we're changing the world is in terms of really very simply down to environmental, similar to what these folks are doing with the data center, we're doing with technology. Computing capacity, raw compute cycles, are delivered massively more efficiently in the cloud world than they are in the traditional world. So I always use the analogy of the data centers are kind of the factories of the information age. So if you look at that factory, the input variable is power, it's watts, and the output variable is compute cycles. That's really what data centers do if you bring them down to their most fundamental level. And cloud is, probably almost exponentially more efficient in terms of delivering those compute cycles per input watt of power. So that's from a pure resources point of view, that's what we're doing. But there's also a story to be told around access to compute power. So if you look at developing nations, there have been many years where you had a lot of talent, a lot of software engineering, programming that had no ability to get their work product, the things they were designing, the things they were building to change things, out to the greater world because they were constrained by no access to infrastructure. So cloud changes that. So a random programmer sitting in his bedroom in Brazil who has an idea who can change the world can swipe a credit card and for 3 cents an hour have that application available to the entire world in less than a minute. That feat 5 years ago would have taken probably close to $1 million of capital investment and expertise that he simply didn't have access to as an 18-year-old programmer sitting in his bedroom. So there's an efficiency play and there's an access play. And I think both of them are changing the world in their own way.
Nicely put, sir. Thank you. Mark, what's happening?
Thank you. My name is Mark Gaalswyk. I'm chairman and founder of Easy Energy Systems Incorporated. Our mission and trademark is Fuel the World. Our company has developed and has patents pending on a modular energy production system These are small-scale systems that can be shipped anywhere in the world. They're totally self-contained. Each unit's about the size of, again, like a small-scale shipping container, and it can convert waste products into energy. So an example would be you could convert waste paper, waste milk, waste soda pop, waste crop residue, put that on one end, and out the other end will come bioethanol or electricity. So we call this capability energy in a box. As an example, one of our 1 million gallon per units could take 1,000 cars and fill them every week for a year. So how do we do it? I brought my Legos along for a high-tech example.
No expense has been spared.
Yeah, right. Imagine for a moment that each one of these Legos is a small-scale shipping container. And into that, we place the part of the process that's needed to convert the waste into energy. And so we put these different parts of the process together so we can put waste on one side and electricity or fuel out the other. Now what we do is we partner with different science and biology companies and embed their technology into their own color Lego. Okay? So what happens then is, as a company, we're really more of a bioenergy technology integrator that are embedding the technologies into different Legos that we can ship anywhere in the world and reassemble in different orders or in different combinations depending on the feedstock. So if you go to one area, you might want to do waste paper, the other one waste milk whey, waste corn stalks. You just snap them together in different orders. So what we believe is just kind of like Apple Computer ushered in the computer revolution by working with the chips manufacturers and putting them on a box and putting them on our desktop and making us all able to use it. So too are we working with these different science and laboratory companies and embedding their technology into the different pods and placing them out at remote and rural villages to convert waste into energy. So who are our markets? We have two primary markets. One market is developed countries such as the USA and Europe. Another one is developing countries such as India or continent of Africa. So developed countries, the clear problem is both the carbon footprint and also reducing the dependency on foreign oil. In the U.S., there's a mandate that we've got to get to of 21 billion gallons per year of non-corn biofuels. Okay, so why the 21 billion gallon number? That happens to be the exact amount that we're now importing from the Middle East. So why don't we take our waste, turn that into those 21 billion gallons, and we don't need any more Middle Eastern oil. Okay, so what our focus would be is let's take one of our systems, put one out at every single landfill, and convert the waste garbage that's coming into the landfill into biofuel or electricity. Okay? We can put one next to every dairy processing plant, convert the waste milk products, so return milk becomes energy. Convert your tree trimmings, convert your lawn clippings, convert waste soda pop, waste beer. What happens is you start putting yourself in a dark room thinking of all these different feedstocks that you convert into energy, and you can go on, but I don't have time. But at the end of the day, we really should take this waste, instead of, bad name probably, but wasting it, let's turn that into energy and get the 21 billion gallons that we need so we don't have to import Middle Eastern oil. So for developing countries such as India and Africa, we believe that our technology would be the key to eliminating that circle of poverty and bringing them resources such as electricity and energy and ushering them into the 21st century. So as an example, we've met with the government of India. They have 100,000 villages with no electricity. Okay? So we've proposed shipping our pods out to every one of those villages, putting the waste crop residue, their waste paper into one end, and electricity out the other. That electricity can be used to provide irrigation. It can provide lights so the kids can study at night. It can also provide lights for the whole village. We have another technology partner, in essence another Lego that you could snap on the end, that is offered to be the data communications pod. So what that would then allow you to do is you could have satellite communication, which would give you internet access and cell phone communication to link that whole village with us with the rest of the world. We call that concept Light a Village. We've also met with the government of China. If you've ever been over to China, there's lots of smoke and pollution. There's millions of piles of corn stalks and crop residue out by all their local villages that are often burned. And so what we suggested is let's put our units out by every one of those villages, convert that crop residue into electricity or into fuel, and both eliminate the pollution. But even more so, we can provide a new source of income for those rural and impoverished areas. So as a company, in conclusion, we really believe we're going to change the world. We're going to reduce landfills. We're going to turn pollution into energy. No more of the whole food versus fuel issue. We'll reduce dependency on Middle Eastern oil. and will create sustainable income for these rural and undeveloped regions all over the world. So we believe we're a complete waste energy solution provider that eliminate many of the global problems today on the planet, one MEP system at a time.
Wow. Trash into treasure. Corn oil, that was the whole debate, wasn't it?
Was that corn ethanol?
Yes. This is not using.
This is not used corn.
Yeah.
This is not used corn. Now, we can do corn as well as anyone else, but we're really focusing on these waste markets. The nice thing about these waste markets, to do these waste markets, you need these smaller scale distributed systems that are only economical to build by building them in a factory. And so that's our market, that's our patent, these modular small scale systems.
And is this mainly aimed at the developing world, or will first world nations be
Of course, the U.S. is in our backyard. So again, I would say every single landfill, every food processing plant. My sister company does feed processing systems all over North America, and we'd envision putting one of them in every one of those small communities, turning crop residue into waste. So we have to just push and get that 21 billion gallons as fast as we can, so we don't have to be importing any more of that oil.
And what stage are you at with this at the moment?
So where we're at is we've got a complete, I've been working on this since 2004. We've got a complete demonstration plant in our factory. If you'd like to come, you can come watch us put waste paper on one end, watch fuel come out the other, put waste milk on one end, watch fuel come out the other. We now have 1,000 systems quoted all over the world. We just brought out a new CEO, and we're scaling up manufacturing, getting ready to convert those quotations into orders.
Where are you based?
We have executive offices in Phoenix, Arizona that we're just opening, and then we also have a factory and a demonstration plant up in Welcome, Minnesota, and Emmitsburg, Iowa.
Very good. Interesting. Fascinating. Cynthia,
Yeah.
what's up?
Yeah. I'm the co-founder and COO of CSRHUB, and in the business of helping hasten the transformation to a sustainable economy. I believe most of us would agree that business has the power and the innovation to solve social problems, but we have no standard way of measuring how companies are doing socially and environmentally. If you want to buy a good or service, or do a deal with a partner, or find a supplier, or invest in a stock, there are ways efficient ways to evaluate those kinds of economic decisions. But if you want to go out and buy a laptop and consider Dell or HP, Apple, or Acer, there has not been an efficient way to make a decision, and it's very complex. There are a lot of factors that are weighing into performance that include conflict minerals, waste generation, closed-loop manufacturing, child labor, diversity on the board, and transparency. All of those factors are playing into how a company is really performing. So what CSRHUB our goal is to provide a rating that is as simple and powerful as a stock price. And by the way, in that decision matrix on the laptop, Apple would be the low performer. But we've invested several years in bringing together nearly 2 million data elements and from over 100 sources. And so we're now providing sustainability ratings on about 5,000 publicly traded companies in 65 countries around the world.
And where does that data come from? What sort of?
Yeah.
By way of
so
example?
this is really capitalizing on the trends that John Hagel referred to yesterday on big data sets. We're taking advantage of having aggregated sources from research analytical firms, government databases, NGO databases, and are aggregating those and normalizing those, utilizing the cloud, and providing a simple way to compare, to go on the site, search on a company, and compare performance.
And your conclusions, your deliberations are available where? Where can we?
It's a web-based service, And it's accessible, I think, to anyone that wants to use it, whether you're a manager or you're a student or an activist. And I think we're taking advantage of a trend, many trends, but one is that everything can be rated. And I think as younger people, younger generation would say that they expect this as a part of the decision-making process that they're going to make about the companies that they want to work for or buy from. And so...
Should we be more concerned about this sort of thing? You know, rather than just kind of consuming?
I think we should be very concerned about this kind of thing. I think one of the biggest trends that's happening is the internal... I think we are internalizing our social values to be more consistent with our economic decisions, as companies are internalizing the social and environmental costs, the true costs, as we were seeing last night as we watched the movie, the true costs in their operations. And I think people need and want a very a good way to figure out how companies are performing. And so we're announcing the availability of a widget which we'll be hosting on the Huffington Post shortly, and really providing a simple way for people to look at corporate performance.
So do you have a sort of sin index? Or sinners index?
Sinners. Well, yes, I think there. Yes, I think that there will be. Well, right now on a scale of 0 to 100, our average score across these 5,000 companies is about a 49, and the top performer is 71. So I think it indicates, and there are some performers that are very low. And so I think that kind of transparency can be transformative, and I believe the power to measure is the power to influence and improve. And so...
and give us one that's doing well and one that's doing badly.
Actually, I just for grins, I ran through all the attendees in the publicly held companies in the room, and ooh. I think with the I'm really pleased to say that there wasn't a single company in this esteemed audience that was under a 49, and most were in the mid-50s to the mid-60s. So that's awesome.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
I'm getting a wind-up. Thank you all very much. And these are all FiReStarters, all exceptional people. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.